And there's another video by H2, which is one of the guys we watch for the Rain World videos. What do you think about the new DVD changes? I've not. Do you have like a video I could watch? You could send me a DM of it. I'll watch it. Let's watch this video real quick by H2. Reading Terraria's negative reviews, so you don't have to.
Terraria, despite starting its life as a quaint little indie game in 2011, is actually in the top 10 best-selling games of all time. Almost. Just so close. Well, it's the 10th best-selling game in our hearts, at least. But of course, not everyone's a fan of everything. There's bound to be people who aren't a fan of the game, so I thought maybe reading the negative reviews would be a fun idea. Wait, look, here comes one now. Rolling Cactus. Well, I don't get it. What's so bad about the
Rip.
Oh. Jungle Bats. They're not so bad, right? Jungle Spiked Slime. Boulder. Moss Hornet.
Just the jungle in general, let's be real.
I hate the Wall of Flesh. 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 I hate the Angler. Okay, well, he's not an enemy, he's just, like, a bit of an asshole. Turns out, the game can be difficult for some people. The game really doesn't like to hold your hand, so you can find yourself dying repeatedly at all stages of the game when you're a new player. But when you become a veteran of the game, and you've played for hundreds, if not thousands of hours, you'll often end up finding the game far too easy. In fact, there's a couple negative reviews that say just that, and they don't put it very politely either. This game is piss easy, even on expert mode. If you're not a child and have any game experience at all, you'll breeze through most of it. This is a terrible assessment of the game's difficulty, because any game experience at all doesn't necessarily help you if all of your experience is, say, in first-person shooters, does it? Being new to any game, no matter what that game is, makes your first playthrough harder than it would be for the experienced player. And a reviewer with 1,000 hours in the game telling you it's too easy is irrelevant if you're truly looking for advice on whether you should buy the game or not. No shit, they don't think it's hard. But this review is actually really, really long, and they go on to say a whole bunch of other stuff as well. The game is, by nature of its premise, a very look-it-up-yourself game. The game doesn't really hold your hand on stuff. There are not many ways in-game to know what you're meant to do next.
Which is, honestly, a really bad thing. I don't like that. Like, I don't think you should be able to tell everything. Like, you shouldn't tell me everything, but there needs to be a better direction in what you're given. Terraria does not give direction well. It's during the era of, you better Wikipedia this. And I was not a fan of that. Not a big fan of that. Like, I don't have the patience for that anymore. Honestly, at all. I don't know why the hell I had patience for it when I was a kid.
But this is by design. The game wants you to figure things out for yourself, and realistically speaking, this is the exact same thing that other games in the sandbox genre also do.
Yeah, it's trash too there. As well, trash in Minecraft. I don't like that shit either.
They make you
I just get lost and confused. And then I don't want to play it.
discover things for yourself. That's part of the fun of this type of game. There are a handful of in-game ways to perhaps figure out what you should be doing next. Most notably is the guide. The guide can give you these vague clues about what you should do next, but he also lets you learn stuff about crafting. If you give the guide an item, let's say a block of wood, the guide will show you every single item that can be crafted using wood, and exactly how to craft them.
So also, like, a confession, to be honest with you. I played Terraria with Sam, with Raj. Probably 1,000 hours with him total. And 1,000 hours by myself or with other people. And I have to say, I have the most fun when playing with Raj. Not only because I like playing with Raj, but also because Raj looks all this shit up and I don't have to. Because if I had to look all this shit up, I would not have fun and I would not play the game. I would not. I would not have a good time. I wouldn't. It's luckily he knows the things or he looks it up. Because if he didn't know the things or looked them up, I would not do it.
So as useful as the wiki might be, it's very realistic that you would be able to beat the game without the use of the wiki at all. It might be harder, but it's certainly doable. The game is long. It's not a concise game. To me, this is a good thing. A game that costs 10...
Also, it's the same problem I have with Rust. Like, I want to play Rust and I want to be really good at it, but I don't want to do all the looking up shit. Like, it's just not fun. It's not fun to me at all.
on Steam that can give you potentially hundreds of hours of playtime in your first run. That sounds like a win to me. And it's meaningful playtime too. None of that Valheim shit where everything's padded for runtime because it's in early access and they want their game to be long and it takes 8 hours to even travel from one place to another, let alone actually craft.
Call them wiki games, so games you have like wiki open on or your second screen the whole time. Yeah, exactly. And like, I think like a 14-year-old me is really fascinated by.
Fuck, man.
Whoa, holy shit! Thank you so much for the gifted subs. You don't have to do that. Thank you. Did not have to do that though.
Fuck, man.
That's very kind of you. That's why I enjoy Grounded so much. See, I like games. I like when the games tell me what to do,
man.
or like show me. Like, I guess tell me what to do is the wrong thing. I like it when games give you enough direction.
Holy fuck,
you know?
man.
Jeez, that's so. Thank you so much for that. That was such a nice gift. Thank you. I like it when games give you a slight direction. It's nice. Like Elden Ring. You know, no matter what, if I get lost, the grace guides me. You know, grace will tell me where to go. But like, I feel like in Terraria and Minecraft and all these other games, there's really no real direction at all, and you just end up getting lost and having to look things up, and I don't like that. It's not fun.
Craft items. I mean actual meaningful and engaging progress the entire time, for hundreds of hours. I guess if you're extremely busy, this could be a turn-off, but in terms of value for money, this surely just makes Terraria a no-brainer to buy. This is a grindy game. Well, yeah, kind of. It's a sandbox RPG, so it will of course be grindy to a degree.
I think the struggle for me is when the game doesn't tell you inherently really how to play or what the progression is supposed to be. I find that frustrating for sure. Yeah, exactly. I think if I started playing Terraria now, I would have a terrible time with it. And only because, like, unless I had a good friend who would walk me through, you know, one thing after the other, or would give me, like, Terraria used to be a great game for me because I've been raid leading since I was like 10. I've been raid leading raids since I was 10. So I'd go to play Terraria to turn my brain off and have someone else lead me. So I'd go there to play with Raj, and Raj would take me to places in Terraria. I learned everything in Terraria by someone else telling me what to do. Like, I didn't try to like be creative or find my own way. I had way more fun just turning my brain off and listening to someone else tell me what to do. I had a great time. Really liked it.
There's no avoiding that, really. But compared to some other games I could mention, Terraria's grind is really not that bad. There is a lot of grind, I'll give you that, but the grind is ever-changing, and constantly uses the most engaging parts of the game's mechanics. Instead of just mining over and over and over again to get every single material in the game, Terraria's grind consists of mining, exploring for...
Curious why, though? Do you just feel guilty doing that, or do you feel like you're taking something away from them? Or do you feel like they should figure it out themselves?
chests, fighting bosses, fighting enemies, and crafting items from unique drops. All of the most interesting facets of Terraria's core gameplay are all interweaved into the grind to make sure that it doesn't get too stale or repetitive. Like, if you're not a fan of mining, there's a whole bunch of other things you could be doing at the same point in progression that don't require any mining at all. Another thing certainly worth mentioning is Terraria's huge modding scene. T-Mod Loader is free to download on Steam, and it's very easy to use, which gets rid of that barrier to entry that a lot of other games mods have. And even just the quality of life stuff can remedy some of the more obnoxious things about the base game. Playing the vanilla game with just magical storage on its own is incredible. You can just drop all of your items into your storage and then search for them manually when you want to get them out, instead of having to sift through dozens of unorganized chests to find the one item you may or may not have remembered to keep. One thing that is worth noting is that Terraria is certainly better with friends. I've played the game on my own a bunch of times, and I loved it, but playing it with friends is definitely an improvement to the experience. Stop checking bad reviews and play it, lol. Awesome. That's really good. Good to know that these types of reviews are a universal experience that all good games review sections have to face, I guess.
I used to make bad reviews, but they were all jokes. Like I have a review for Terraria that is it's a downvote, and it's like best game ever. 10 out of 10 would recommend, and it's a not recommended. And it was a cringy joke that I regret.
Yes. Plantera fisted me so hard. I actually can't read that on YouTube, can I? Because they'll. Terraria is mostly about combat. Of course, there's plenty of exploring to get materials in the depths of the earth and all that, but in the end, chances are that the goal is to have that crafted into a weapon or item to help fight enemies. There are aspects like house building and decorating said houses, but this game feels a lot less about creating things than, say, Minecraft.
I think that's a fair assessment. I think that, like, but I feel like you can be interested in the game in a certain aspect and not be interested in other aspects. Like, I really like building in Terraria specifically, you know? But I don't really like a whole lot of other things. Combat's fun, but like I'm not super crazy min-max about it. I can be if I have to. Like if it's like, oh, we're in hardcore mode, we have to do this. But like for the most part, my favorite thing to do in Terraria is to make really cool looking houses and like massive like cities. Like that's really fun to me. Someone isn't interested as they put no effort into finding their own goal. I don't think that's what I mean when I say like looking things up. I mean when I say looking things up, I mean more so like the direction we need to go next. Like, oh, I'm pretty much whenever we go into Terraria when I'm with someone who is actually experienced, I never really like oh we're gonna go do this next or we're gonna do that next. Like it's mostly just me waiting for you to say that. Like oh we're gonna go kill the Eye of Cthulhu. Okay, cool. Let's go do it. And I'll fucking go do that, right? I mean obviously it's different now because I've played 2,000 hours of Terraria, so I can be that person who's like let's go kill Cthulhu because I'm so used to it. But if we're playing like we're playing Minecraft together, I don't know even know what the bosses are. So I don't know, like, you want to go kill the Enderman? I guess that's like the first boss. I don't know. Let's go kill the Enderman. Like, if you tell me that, I'm like, oh yeah, sure, let's go for it, man. That's awesome. And that's when I say direction in Wiki, that's kind of like what I mean. That's really what I'm saying, is like, I don't really understand what the progression system is. But like the small things, like making your own town, like having fun and just fucking around, like I love that part. I can do that part all day. That doesn't bother me at all. But when it comes to like going from point A to B to C to D to E to F and then all the way to Z, I'm lost. And I get lost and very confused and very frustrated very easily. It's also a part of the reason why I don't like puzzle games as much, because I get confused too easily, then I get frustrated and quit.
He also then mentions that everyone compares the two games even though they're nothing alike.
What about a boss order? You never look up the boss order and know what? No, I don't. I don't. I think that Raj has always done that. And because Raj did that, I learned it. When I got into like the really hardcore modes, portions of Terraria, and I was like curious, I probably did. But like overall, no, I didn't. I never did that.
This is actually a very good point that I honestly never even considered. And it's 100% true. The game is very combat oriented. The creative side of the game is certainly there, and there are people who make some crazy stuff in Terraria, but the game doesn't really... The game is...
This guy's videos is great. Kaios. I watched him a lot when I was learning to craft and build stuff.
Certainly there, and there are people who make some crazy stuff in Terraria, but the game doesn't really incentivize it as much as Minecraft might. And perhaps that is because the game's two-dimensional, which limits your creativity to a degree. You're missing an entire dimension to build stuff in. The game definitely does pride itself much more on its boss fights and enemy variety than anything else, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. The combat in Terraria is actually really good, and it's not like there isn't cool stuff you can do outside of that combat. In fact, a lot of Terraria's creativity comes from the wiring system. It's a little bit like Minecraft's redstone, and it can be used to do a bunch of crazy stuff like making event farms and boss insta-kill traps and stuff like that. Like these traps created by Mappy, he created some sort of mechanism to instantly kill in one tick every single boss in the entire game.
A lot of Grounded was me telling people to do things in the top right if you're bored. Most of my recent memories would be Grounded, and in the top left corner of the screen, it tells you exactly what your next goal should be. Not telling you though, you were kind of along for the ride. Yeah, I mean, it's weird. Grounded was a lot of like, I've never been a really good, big fan of 3D survival crafters, right? I'm not a huge fan of them in general, so I don't play Minecraft or anything like that. I play them with people who like them. Um, when it comes to goals, I think my goal in those kind of games when I'm playing with friends that I don't know, like I don't know what your goals really are. My goal when I play with friends is to achieve their goals. Like I don't really have a goal of my own. My goal is usually like I want to help you do your thing. Oh, let's do that. And that's where my focus is. So when I play games that are people like that, that's what I usually do. Now, like in a game that I'm really comfortable with, like Terraria, I have a plethora of goals that I want to accomplish and things that I want to do. That's because that's from familiarity. But yeah, I enjoyed Granted, it was fun. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people did. A lot of people liked that game. I didn't have a ton of fun, but I think that a lot of it was just because like I got really confused and lost, and it. I think I grew up playing with in a situation where I played with one person in a survival crafter game. I didn't play like with so many people. Playing with more than one person in a survival crafter game gets really overwhelming sometimes when you're new to it. So I get like really just kind of like overwhelmed and like I fall behind, and I probably shouldn't, right? So, but for instance, playing alone, I hated it. Yeah, it does. Kind of in the same boat, but I always hit some point where I want to make progress after decorating or building. True. True, especially if everyone is just asking questions, a lot of questions get repeated. Well, that too, and if you and someone else go off to do something and you kind of feel like you were in the middle of something, you get left behind and they find something really cool and you weren't there for it, it feels bad. It doesn't feel good. It feels like you're missing out on something. And instead of it just being a shared experience, it's more like you're a passenger on the ship that they're driving. And sometimes when you're all together and you find something that's really cool, that's awesome. That's what the shared experience is nice. It's been really fun playing with Raj whenever we can play Sons of the Forest and experiencing those things together at the same time. That's been fun. But if it was like four people and like little Timmy played not off stream, but like away from us, and he went off and he found all the cool stuff, came back and told us, it would feel a little weird, feel a little off. Um, but again, like that, like Sons of the Forest is more narrative driven than let's say Terraria, where Terraria is more like, hey, figure out what you need to fight next. And at that point, if little Timmy comes by and says, hey, let's go kill this guy I heard about, I'd be like, okay, cool, awesome. So yeah. And the same with Grounded, right? Grounded is the same way, where it's a narrative driven story in a survival crafting RPG. So it's like, yeah, it's cool if we find it all together, but if little Timmy comes back and tells us all the shit, then it's not as cool. Someone wants to build, someone wants to explore, someone wants to fight. Can't all line up. True, exactly. I think survival crafting works the best when you're with a group that wants that when you're with a group that works together, but they all follow one person. I feel like that's like the best because you're all experiencing the same thing at the same time. You know, no one breaks off to do their own thing. Because then you don't have to worry about like, oh, let's not kill boss A until Jimmy comes around because Jimmy's always with you. That boss A's ready to kill. Let's kill him. We're done. GG.
But Terraria also has lots of cool exploration. There's loot that can be found or mined that has absolutely nothing to do with killing enemies. And the random generation of the worlds makes it feel slightly different every single time you do it. There's also quests that can be done for the angler. Although we try not to talk about those. There's even golf. It appears our first contestant, H2, is stepping up to the tee. Oh, he completely missed his first swing. That's an impressive feat. He seems to be getting an eye for the controls here, Jeff. Looks like he's never actually played golf in Terraria in his entire fucking life. Oh.
I've been that one person that kind of sucks. You spend a lot of time waiting for everyone to have their inventory managed and meet up with you. So, we actually experienced that in Terraria. So, we tried making a Terraria server where we would progress weekly with our friends, and it was awful. It was truly not a good time because a lot of people didn't do anything throughout the week. They didn't have fun. They got on whenever we had this like scheduled, basically a raid night where we get on and we'd all play. And a lot of people just weren't into it, didn't know what to do, were confused, didn't have fun because they had no attachment to the stuff that they made, or they didn't get on at all until that designated night. So they were detached and under geared, and then therefore it wasn't a good time for them. Um, it's weird. It was a weird experience. We tried to make it so that we could all go together at the same time and kill bosses and experience things, but it did not work out. I also think that things like that work best in short bursts, like playing Diablo 3 seasonally, right? When a Diablo 3 season comes, like getting your boys and your friends together. I say boys, but I mean in general, boys and girls, your friends, getting your friends together and like coming together and fighting that new season together for the first week feels great because it's a burst of adrenaline, a burst of endorphins in your brain. We all accomplish something. We accomplished a lot of things in that first week, and it's over, right? And it's done. Then we wait until the next season comes around. Same thing with like Terraria. When you run a group of people who kind of know what to do, you kind of burst through Terraria in like a week. You knock it all out as fast as possible. Go through all the content, and it feels really good and rewarding. But you don't feel like you don't feel dragged down. If it lasts longer than like 2 to 3 weeks, it feels kind of dragged out, especially when you know the game. I feel like our group had a lot of different skill levels, and it made things hard. Yeah, exactly. 100%. And it comes back down to if you're interested in survival crafter with friends, you have to but put it in solo effort. Yes. True.
Look at that, straight into the water. Clearly no idea what he's doing. H2's clearly not on form today. It's a wonder that he even got into this competition at all.
2 hours later.
It's been what feels like days, Jeff. Days. He finally got the ball onto the green. Oh, and he puts the ball barely 2 meters in front of him. Seems like he's going for a world record for the worst score in golfing history. And he finally gets the ball into the hole. I think that's the worst display of golf I've ever seen in my entire career. If I were him, I'd be ashamed of myself. I don't know how he can look his wife and children in the eye when he comes home from work every day. Bad game, not good. Thank you, Man Salad. I really appreciate your input. It really means a lot. After 9 years of creating a sandbox game that you can play any way you want, the lead dev has decided there is now a correct way to play the game, and added mechanics to punish people for playing it wrong. This review is a little bit old by now, and it's referring...
I feel like I'm a survival crafter pro. I love crafting and building, and I usually build and decorate until new players are ready for, to move forward. But if someone is just sitting around waiting for me, it sucks. I understand it. I don't know. I kind of feel like... I don't know. I can see how that would suck. But I can also see why a new player would be waiting around for you. Or, like, waiting for direction. I don't know. Like, I especially, I don't know. I kind of, like, sympathize with someone who, like, just wants to help. And, like, doesn't really have a stake in it and just wants to be helpful. Yeah, you're completely correct. It's really hard, man. Getting someone into something or getting someone into a new game is difficult. It really is. I've had several friends play games with me and not get into it, and it's demoralizing. But it's also like super understandable. Like when we played Path of Exile yesterday, and we played together, I had so much fun because you were having so much fun, right? The fact that you and I both enjoyed that made that so much of a better experience. But going into like a survival game, like it's not as fun because if not everyone's feeling the same way you are, it's not much of a good time.
To a now reworked mechanic called Torch Luck. You might think I'm going to make fun of this review for being dumb or something, like I usually do, but no, this guy is 100% correct. Torch Luck, in its original form, was incredibly stupid. In Terraria, there are torches. You use them to light up dark areas, but there are also biome torches. Torches that are slightly harder to craft or find that aesthetically fit in with certain biomes, like jungle torches, or desert torches, or crimson torches. Torch Luck is a mechanic that gives you increased luck stats if you use the correct torch in the correct biome. Luck is a hidden stat that gives you better chances at getting item drops from enemies, or having NPCs spawn, and getting better loot from fishing and stuff like that. But when the mechanic was first introduced, using the wrong torch could actually reduce your luck stat by a very large amount, and you could actually have negative luck. This was incredibly stupid for a variety of different reasons. For a start, there's no mention anywhere in the entire game that torches have any
In game development, negatives are almost universally bad. You should only give benefits, honestly. Like, and what I mean by that is like what he's just explaining here. Like, it's not a negative to not have the appropriate torch for the certain area, but like, it's better for you to use the right torch. It's not negatively impacting you. I absolutely hate the idea of negatively impacting your character for no reason other than you just didn't know enough. Like, it's stupid to me. Like, you should want to get better, not go from a worse state to a decent state.
influence on luck. In fact, luck itself is a hidden stat that's barely even mentioned in the game whatsoever, and just an aesthetic difference that bothered the dev for some reason was enough to lower your drop chances by almost 15%. After everyone lost their minds at this change, the devs did rework the mechanic. But even in its current state, the mechanic is still relatively stupid, because it's barely mentioned in the actual game whatsoever. But yeah, it just goes to show that an otherwise great game with an otherwise great dev can still make really, really dumb and unintuitive decisions sometimes. Okay, last one. Yo, what the fuck? I thought this was scribbled on.
Fucking LOL. H2. We love this guy. We did the Rain World view, his video from Rain World, and we're just doing that video too. I thought his video looked cool. We should watch it. That's the reason why I pulled it up. But if you haven't subscribed to it yet, subscribe to it now. H2 is an awesome guy.